Hail and welcome to another episode of the Muddling Through podcast. This episode features my good friend Jordan Bigsley. I hope you all enjoy. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, happy to be here.
First time on a podcast?
Yes, definitely.
You listen to a fair number of them, though.
I do. I listen to quite a lot in different waves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where do you find the time?
Now, not really anywhere. I was driving quite a while, like 2 years ago when I was still doing driving for work.
Yeah.
So I burned through a lot of podcasts that way. And then since that change, it's been, little bits on the way to work and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Frisbee, I listen to a lot there.
Yeah.
But I don't know, doing a little bit of the housework, I'll throw something on.
Pretty decent time for a podcast.
Yeah. Depends on what it is. Sometimes I can't focus on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I find myself just kind of missing large chunks and rewinding.
Yeah.
So I don't always like to do that. I'll get to a point I'm like, wait, how did this happen?
How did we get here?
Yeah.
Fair enough, man. So what's going on with you?
Not too much. Kind of working, trying to fix up the house. Getting ready for a baby.
Getting ready for a baby.
Yeah.
You guys have names picked out?
We have a list that we've been working on since we started dating. We'll just throw a name at each other and see what sticks. And so we think we have a couple picked out, but we're still mulling through some.
Still in the process.
Yeah. I like the idea of not picking immediately and giving it a couple days.
Seeing
if something presents itself as this feels like this kind of name.
Yeah. Thing. Is that an option, or do you have to put something down on the birth certificate?
I think. We're going to be in the hospital for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
The hospital we're going to, that's just their standard for any birth, and then 3 days if it's a C-section or any crazy emergency stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as long as it's named before you leave, you might be okay. I don't think it has to be immediate. It's just most people want something picked right away.
Yeah, that's fair.
But Bailey is very much, we need to pick, and we need to know.
Want to know ahead of time.
Yeah. So I think I've talked her into having a couple names options to see if it comes out looking like one more than the other.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I was talking to Dave about baby names, and do you subscribe to the notion that what a child is named will influence what kind of person they become?
I think kind of vaguely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm very similar to any of the Jordans I've met, but I know there are definitely names where I'll hear that name and it's like, oh, that makes sense for this person.
Yeah.
This is clearly a Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Just something about them, they are a Greg.
It's very Greg-like aspects.
Yeah. Some names just kind of have, and maybe it's just you have one experience with one individual that has a negative connotation or strong positive connotation. And so that carries over and you see that more when you buy a car and suddenly you see it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what it is with names too.
It could be. I've had some strange experience with Joshes.
Okay.
For some reason. Just thinking about the Joshes I know, there are, a couple of very nice ones.
Mm-hmm.
But a good number of them are just very strange people. Just a bit much.
Yeah.
I think my old roommate who used to work at SLR was named Josh.
Yeah.
And then there were just a bunch of kids in high school that were just weird.
Yeah, I think all the Joshes I knew in high school were weird.
Just something about Josh, I guess.
Yeah, that could be, again, maybe we just each knew one really weird Josh.
Yeah.
That just flavored all of the other Joshes in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But, so, that definitely feeds a lot into what we're determining as a feasible list.
Hmm. And are you worried about, initial combinations?
A little. I mean, we don't want it to like say something.
Yeah.
Which is pretty easy to avoid.
As long as you're paying attention,
yeah. Yeah. Bailey's sister, Lissa, very clearly one day was like, so, have you thought about names? And have you thought about middle names? And have you thought about whether or not they're going to spell things? And we're like, don't worry. She's like, I've seen some bad examples. So yeah, it's not like at the front of thinking, but
like you kind of want, like the primary thing is to pick a first name,
yeah,
and then the secondary thing is to pick a secondary name, and then like the third thing is like
make sure nothing weird happens in the mix. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely not like priority, but it will be like a box checked off before we fully commit to a name.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing weird has come up yet. We haven't had to exclude any names for that reason yet. So
okay.
That's helpful.
You're not getting into like weird name territory?
No. I mean, I kind of like the idea of names that are not like weird and uncommon, but just less common.
Mm-hmm.
Like growing up, I didn't know any Jordans until I think my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
There happened to be another Jordan in the school that I just never really interacted with that was a grade above me, and then we had a kid transfer in, and so at the time my last name was still Ashley, and so I was Jordan A. We had Jordan B and Jordan C, and we were all in a class together, and like I'd never interacted with either one of them before, and so it was very weird to suddenly have two other Jordans. But I kind of liked being, the only one that I knew, really. And I've met a few more since then. But then like Bailey's a pretty, not uncommon name, but it's not like top 20.
Yeah.
So
like I think I know one other Bailey that I can think of, but it's not super common.
Yeah. She doesn't like it because she hears it most for boys or for dogs or for boy dogs. And she hates that.
That's rough.
Which she'll probably hate me bringing that up. But
well,
that's fine.
You think she'll listen to this?
I think she's definitely gonna listen to it. She listened to the Dave episode.
All right. Any feedback in that regard?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess more commenting on what Dave talked about. Because I mentioned the other day that I asked her, hey, do we have plans like either of these nights? And she said, no, why? And I was like, oh, well, Gordon thinking of recording a podcast. She was like, what are you going to talk about? I was like, well, I mean, he talks about whatever is kind of like the biggest thing in their life at the time, just is kind of how it ends up. She's like, so what's yours? And I was like, it's kind of like pointed at her stomach, and I was like, this.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, thanks. So I mentioned that David was on, and she listened to it. So I think she's definitely going to listen to this one. So
fair enough. Hi, Bailey.
Yeah. Trying to make sure I don't say anything that'll get me in trouble.
Yeah, keep an eye on your P's and Q's and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no critiques.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You feel prepared?
I don't know. A little more anxious, I guess, than I expected.
How far out are we?
We are 8 weeks.
Yeah.
It's getting to the point where it's very much, there are things that need to be done with the house that are not done. And so I'm like mentally categorizing them, whether this has to be done pre-baby or this needs to be done pre-mobile baby. Because like we don't have to worry about corners and stuff until it's moving around.
So then you have like
and then it's like
18 months.
There's like a real like definite list there of like we have to fix all of these things before it starts moving autonomously, because that's a whole other category.
Yeah.
but mostly, I mean, it's going to spend the first few months in our room. So we just, once we have, all of the accoutrement that we need, we're just set up and ready to go. And then I can kind of chip away at stuff during the many waking hours of having a newborn.
Yeah.
So it'll be good. Yeah, I think we're both pretty calm, just knowing that things are going to change, but neither one of us is really like panicked about anything yet.
Yeah, and this was part of the plan.
Yeah.
I mean, like obviously this part was planned, but like it's been part of the plans for.
Yeah, it's Bailey's always really wanted a family, so it was always like a known thing that we've talked about really early in the relationship, that like the plan is to have kids eventually, and just trying to find a point to like in our lives where we felt we were okay enough to have kids,
as prepared as you were likely to get.
Yeah, and like her mom really wants grandkids, and so she's really excited.
Yeah.
Like she was asking early on, like, so when are you guys gonna have kids? She's like, Mom, we just got married.
Yeah.
Like, pump the brakes a little. So yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. Speaking of names, what made you decide to like do a shortening of your last name, or like a combination of your last name? I think we probably had this conversation.
We might have, yeah. So it's a lot of just the idea of Bailey is my family. Always kind of had weird relationships with family, which I mean, I don't think any of my family's really going to listen to this, so it doesn't really matter. Was never really close with my dad's side, with the Ashley side. We were a little bit like our family, my parents and my brother and I kind of were like the black sheep of that. So there was this weird disconnect. So I never felt a strong connection to Ashley. And then, I mean, Ashley as a pretty common girl's name was always weird. I had one teacher all throughout my academic career that didn't call me Mrs. Ashley Jordan on the first day of class, because they also had his last name was Joyce, and so he constantly was called Mrs. Joyce.
So that was the only teacher that was cognizant
the only
of me.
Teacher. And I mean, being Ashley, my name was usually top of the roster, so it's not like they got halfway through and forgot that it's last comma first.
Yeah.
It just starts out like, oh, this is a name.
Yeah.
We'll just read it as it's printed. So I mean, there wasn't really strong connections to the name on its own, and there weren't strong connections to the name as like the family side of it. Because it really is like, I strongly feel that like Bailey is my family. Not like my parents are my family. They're more, I guess they're more extended family now.
Yeah.
Like my priority and loyalties lie with Bailey and our future kids.
Right.
So just kind of this idea that like our last names are joined. So there's a part of, her, there's a part of me. We're making something new while also not disregarding where we came from.
Right.
Because I had almost changed my name earlier in life, just kind of like didn't want to be Ashley anymore.
Yeah.
Just
not real thrilled about.
Yeah.
The association
wasn't like there was a point, I think, in college where it was just more annoying that it was a girl's first name, and then I just never got around to it. Like I never get around to lots of things. So when it came to be like the conversation of changing last names, I was just like, hey, I want to do this, like actively. And Bailey was very much, she wasn't against it, but she was like, I don't want you to do this for me.
Yeah.
Like, this is weird. People are going to be mad at you for this. They're going to blame me. And I was like, you'll be fine. Like, this is something I feel strongly about. I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is all me.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not being pressured into this. I'm not, like, being whipped into this. Like, it's something I feel strongly about.
It's like, if it was going to be her fault, it would be if you took her last name.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so that kind of, sorry, that kind of came up, like, didn't really want to stick with Ashley. Felt like it'd be weirder if I took Biggest, just because of, like, our families are all kind of old-fashioned in that way. Felt like it would mean more in a weird way.
Yeah, it would be kind of like a reverse statement almost.
Yeah, just for us personally. You know, there are other people that do it, and that's great. Just there'd be like weird baggage involved. And then we just didn't really like the idea of hyphenating.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make sure that we had the same last name, because we're like this unified thing. Our kids will have the same last name as us. It's a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
So just kind of locked into Bigsley.
Wow.
And then it adjusted really quickly to being Bigsley, which was nice. I think I only slipped up once afterwards and signed something as Jordan Ashley. Just once. And it was like 6-8 months after. Like, it wasn't even right away.
Yeah.
Just complete muscle memory, pen to paper, and then it said Ashley. I was like, well, this check is bad.
Gonna have to start from scratch.
Yeah. It's a good thing there's a book of these.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing that really strikes me about you is that you don't, you care about how people feel, but you don't seem to care that much what people think.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty apt response.
Is that something that you had to develop, or is that something that you've always had?
It's definitely something I've developed. I was a very emotional, and there's a word for it. Can't think of it. Or just like felt the need to please people. Make sure that everyone else was kind of okay when I was younger. And it just didn't serve me at all. I found it to be a lot more of a detriment to myself. So I just kind of did away with feeling that way. And then it's worked out so far.
Yeah.
So I just carried on. Yeah.
Do you remember what that process was like?
It was a string of really terrible relationships.
Okay.
Where I was miserable both in the relationship, and I was like a miserable person. Like how you look at Scrooge and like, that's a miserable man.
Yeah.
Like, I was not pleasant looking back. And like, it's not like I was with perfect people, but I was definitely a sizable part of the problem at the time, and just was too emotional in all the wrong ways. And so I just kind of stopped. Got a little more reserved. Where, I mean, friends wouldn't say I'm reserved, because I'm very boisterous and obnoxious when I'm with close friends.
Yeah.
But there's definitely like a wall that I have to get through when I'm with new people, where I'm just very quiet.
Yeah.
I don't say much. try and gauge the situation, and if I'm not, it's like I'm a different person with friends,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not like I'm two different people. It's just like there's the free to play mode, and then once you pass like the training and actually buy the full game,
Yep.
then there's me.
Okay.
But not everyone gets past that
Yep.
threshold.
That's fair.
Yeah. My wife likes to say I'm sociopathic.
Okay. It's nice to hear from you.
Yeah. Because I've maybe gone a little too far in the non-emotion department.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. A lot of emotional reactions don't make sense to me now because I remember making them and how bad of a decision it was.
Yeah.
Like being overly sad about something or like personally offended by something.
Mm.
And just like it doesn't earn me anything to express or feel this emotion. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Like I can just ignore it and not be upset or offended by anything.
And just not have it affect you.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know that it was so easy at first, but it's gotten really easy now. Mm-hmm. Probably to a problematic point at sometimes in the marriage, but it hasn't been catastrophic yet that I've had to really reel it back.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's going to change? Like, once your kid gets a little older, do you think you're going to have to sort of lean into a certain amount of emotion to properly interact with them?
I don't know that I'm going to have to need to try.
Okay.
Because I'm already finding myself opening up more. Mm-hmm.
Just as part of the build up to it?
Yeah, just as the idea of having a kid and having something to take care of and something that's going to look to me for support and example.
Yeah.
And that I'm going to have to like take care of, which sounds really superficial, but like, I mean, wholly take care of, like physically, emotionally.
Someone who's completely dependent on your support and like having you shepherd them through like everything.
Yeah, like I can't screw it up. Mm-hmm. And that's not like I'm not capable of screwing up. Like I'm not allowed to screw it up.
It's not an option.
Yeah, so kid related stuff now gets me a little more emotional. Mm-hmm. Like I remember even watching like Endgame, anytime that like Morgan was a part of it at all, I could just feel it like pull at the core and be like, man, the scene needs to end.
Yeah.
Because it's connecting in a way that has not connected before.
And imagine how rough it's going to be once like the child's actually here.
Yeah, and like I had heard of other people that after kids they were like, man, I used to watch scary movies or whatever, and when there were kids involved, it didn't faze me at all. And now if there's a kid in trouble at all, like I have to shut the movie off.
Yeah.
And I never understood that.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Right. Like it's not something you ever expected.
Yeah. Like I don't even have a kid yet.
Yeah.
Like it's still brewing, and I'm already feeling that connection. Mm-hmm. And even in like the reverse, anytime there's like an interaction with a father in a movie or in a show or in anything, I feel that kind of connection of maybe it resonates more now because it's a possibility on the horizon, and not just like, oh, this another person that I can theoretically relate to but not actively relate to.
You don't really have the connection.
Yeah. Whereas now I can kind of see even now like a 1-to-1 ratio to that in my own life. And so it's just making those deep roots that didn't before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been really weird. To like, I don't know that I've ever cried at a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, probably did when I was like really little. And I remember crying watching Left Behind when that came out.
Yeah.
For like completely different reasons.
Yeah.
But,
no, that movie freaked me out when I was younger.
Yeah, I cried a lot for that. But it wasn't like an emotional connection. It was like a fear response.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think all of us Shaw kids have like some weird trauma associated with the first Left Behind movie.
It makes sense. It came out when we were little.
Yeah.
And so it was a strong movie.
Yeah.
But like I don't other than that, I don't remember ever really crying at a movie. And now there are moments where I can feel like fighting it back a little bit.
Yeah. I think the end of Endgame got me pretty good. Like there are movies where I'm just like really quiet. Like Infinity War was kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Endgame, like the wrap up was really rough.
See, I didn't have an issue with that at all.
No.
Like I don't know that I was connected at all to that end part, but the whole beginning, like the scene with Morgan,
yeah,
and then when he's making the decision to go through with the plan, like this might all be erased if I do this, and like this is the only thing that matters to me. That really struck home, and then the rest was just comic book nonsense. So I wasn't
business as
affected.
usual.
Yeah. But that really struck. It was weird.
There aren't any other movies you can think of that have kind of provoked this response?
There's been some other stuff recently, but it's more like with dramas and stuff where it makes more sense.
Yeah, where they're aiming for that sort of.
Yeah, so it really caught me off guard in Endgame. Yeah, I didn't expect it, and then like not only did I not expect to have that sadness in that part of the movie, because it's not like it was stated at the end of the last one that was going to happen in this one. But then it just, like, I was in superhero mode, like watching people punch each other and save the day, and then so it really caught me off guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been other shows and stuff where I find myself reacting to it more, but in a more expected way.
Right. Kind of transitioning here. So I was on a podcast where we were talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe thus far, and I don't know if you got this feeling, but I definitely felt that Endgame kind of capped it for me, and I'm not really sure like how invested I am in the series going forward. Is that something that you can kind of like? Do you feel like it's ongoing, or if like the first, what is it? Is it 4 phases? 3 phases? 3. Like, do you feel like the first 3 phases are their own thing, or the first phase of the next like ongoing thing?
It could end up that it's as a whole one long. That is the first step A, and then the next, chunk or phase or whatever they want to call it.
The next 20 movies.
It's chunk B. I don't think I'm any less invested.
Okay.
Although, read a lot of comics, so it's just kind of par for the course.
Yeah.
That stuff ends or reboots or doesn't have long-standing ramifications at all.
You kind of have to build to it.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting to see, which makes sense on a film format, but it was interesting to see stories like that all converge in a big way and kind of have an actual end, even if they continue. Like that was kind of the end.
Yeah,
it was the end of everything we knew so far. and anything going forward would have to be pretty drastically different.
Yeah.
Um,
Like once you have, the apocalypse, you kind of have to make things more personal.
Yeah.
In a way.
Or, I mean, you could go further reaching, but it feels difficult to go in a larger scale than it was.
Yeah.
Like it's going to have to be more small struggles, which I feel like that's kind of the direction that we're going towards the end of the Infinity Saga, which I think is what they're calling the first three phases.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like the movies were all kind of more personal towards the end.
Yeah.
Where in the first few, it was, I mean, we have to go big now because we might never get the chance again.
Yeah.
And then, by movie 15, they're like, we're going to keep making these, so let's just shoot our shot.
Tell the stories we want to tell.
Yeah. Like, we don't have to worry about getting canceled if this episode doesn't, reach enough viewers. I think people are going to line up to watch the movie, so.
I think Ant-Man's a pretty good example of that, I want to say. Both of the Ant-Man movies, because they don't really have, like, widespread, they don't have immediate widespread consequences.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is kind of like, oh, we might destroy the entire universe, and it's up to, like, one dude.
Right.
But it's...
Yeah, Ant-Man, they kind of like, if they hadn't happened, it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like, even in the way they continued after it. I guess it's a little more difficult to have Endgame without Ant-Man, just because of the way that they do stuff.
Yeah. And you have to introduce Hank Pym somehow, because, like, just showing up and be like, Pym particles, and this is how they work.
Like, I kind of wish that they would do that a little bit more in the movies.
Just, like, pretend that it was already there.
Yeah. Or just, you don't even have to pretend that it's already there. You can just kind of blindly introduce stuff without having to explain it to people. Because the people who care are going to look it up.
Yeah.
And the people who don't care aren't going to care.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
This random thing, some gobbledygook. That's fine.
Like, they're not going to be angry about it and then not look it up.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of how I wish they did Justice League a little more than they did. Like, I feel like everyone knows the characters.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, everyone knows Batman and Superman. Like, if you don't, then I don't know how you've succeeded so far in just living.
Are you living under a rock?
I mean, I get, like, obviously there's people in different parts of the world but they're not going to see the movie.
Yeah.
So, like, anyone who's going to see this movie knows who Batman and Superman are.
Right.
So
through some sort of cultural osmosis, at least.
I mean, there's, army camo Superman shirts. Like, it makes zero sense.
Yeah.
But those people clearly know who Superman is. So I feel like you could just not explain it. Or you could have trailers. They're like, this is the Flash. Meet Barry Allen. He's the fastest man alive.
Yeah.
And, like, if you don't see the trailer, I mean, that's upset for you. But, like, it's going to explain enough throughout the movie who this person is without having to cut away 15 minutes to show an origin and set up his personal life. And they can just throw it at us.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but I think one of the hurdles that the DC movie universe has kind of been dealing with is trying to be Marvel, but not feeling like they have the time because they're playing catch up.
Right. They want to be Marvel at the end of Phase 3 right now.
Yeah. Which it doesn't really work. And I feel like they've kind of hit their stride in a way now, because they've had Wonder Woman, they've had Aquaman, they've had Shazam. Varying degrees of quality, but I feel like those movies on their own are, like, functional outside of like the overall universe.
Yeah, when they finally, started letting filmmakers and creators do what they felt was best and not steamrolling them into the format that they thought they wanted.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how Fox ended up, right before they sold back to Disney.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not back to Disney, but, before all the properties reverted to Marvel, you got movies like Deadpool, who they were just like, look, this doesn't have to connect to anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to do it.
Yeah.
And if people like it, they like it. And if they don't, then we'll just reboot it in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
In terms of a superhero movie, it's relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Deadpool was.
And then you get like that and Logan,
mm-hmm.
which had very solid ideas of what they were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like they knew what they were going to do going in, and they did it, and they paid off for it.
Right.
Which I think didn't quite happen after. I think the success of the Dark Knight trilogy really hurt DC.
Mm-hmm.
Because they maybe saw it and picked out the wrong things for what they thought that the audience wanted and the reasons why it succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't for like the dark and brooding nature. It was because it was Christopher Nolan knowing exactly what he wanted out of those movies. And he was just a singular idea pushing those movies forward.
And like his whole thing was like, I want to do like a super realistic take on Batman and like what you would have to be in, quote unquote real life, like what this would actually look like in the real world.
But he was able to take that and just really drive it home.
Yeah.
And it paid off. And then they tried it with Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not who Superman is.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had done like Injustice, Superman goes crazy and becomes the villain.
Yeah.
Just really committed to it.
Yeah.
It would have been great. Like they could have done like the dark and angsty movie that they wanted to make. But I mean, he's just a dude in tights that jumps around and saves helpless people and smiles the whole time.
Yeah.
Like he can't be angsty based on. It'd be like trying to like rewrite the New Testament with angsty Jesus.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. No one's gonna pay attention to this.
Like we're not here for that.
Yeah, it's just so counter to the fundamentals of the character that if you're gonna do it, you really have to do it.
Yeah.
And I think they just wanted
like
too much of both.
Little taste.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because like Superman isn't really like this is a conversation that's been happening for decades. But Superman isn't really a functional hero in terms of what he's been built up to be.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's not like aside from the whole like if we introduce kryptonite, like that's the plan.
Literally the only reason that exists.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh man, we've made him too strong.
Yeah.
What do we do?
So like unless you dial it back and are like, no, he's super strong, super fast, and super durable, but like he can still bleed.
Yeah.
Outside of being affected by kryptonite. Like, and I almost feel like nobody would really take that sort of thing. They wouldn't take it well. It's like, I can't believe you did this to Superman. He was all these things and you made him like human.
Yeah, but I think that's the most important aspect of Superman.
Right.
It's like he's this god that was raised by two practically homeless people in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Like he grew up with nothing
except
this absolutely loving family who taught him morality and just how to be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that he could literally do anything he ever wanted to do.
Right.
And that we like keep getting away, which is, a blockbuster movie. It's hard to do without, the punching and Michael Bay explosions.
Yeah.
It's all the best Superman stories are really about like a personal struggle that he has to overcome.
I mean, like when you're that powerful, your options are either kryptonite or something that he has to deal with personally.
Right.
And
you either have to do world-ending scale that he's literally the only thing possible to defeat it, or you have to tear his, quote unquote world down around from him. But they haven't really done that. Looking back at it, I don't think it deserved as much flack as it got, but the Brandon Routh Superman movie, was it Superman Returns? It's not terrible.
Yeah.
There are some weird choices in it, but they really tried to do, in parts of it, like a heartfelt story. And then decided, we actually do want to do the world ending, the punchy bits. But I like the idea of like Superman as a kid, and like it was unexpected. They went for it. I appreciate that they went for it, and it didn't quite hit home. But it was. I think it just wasn't. It's hard to do a movie at the scale that they want to do the movie with that kind of story,
right?
And so people just aren't gonna see it that way because you can't market it as, oh, this is Superman, like, oh, but it's about his heart.
Yeah,
because that's not what the normie audience wants. And
producers are nothing if not interested in the widest possible.
Right. If they're gonna fork up, $80 million to make a movie, it better make them in pocket $80 million.
Right.
Like they can't afford.
And in terms of special effects and like advertising, it's like, no, you really have to make like a lot of money.
Yeah.
to even break even. And you have movies like John Carter, of them trying to, bring in like an established IP and just like losing so much money on it.
Yeah. I wanted to like John Carter.
I really enjoyed the books. They're actually like solid.
I've heard really good praise for that series.
Yeah.
And then it's been a long running comic series too that's always seemed to do well.
Yeah.
And then just, man, that movie. It was
didn't land.
Yeah, it was quite the movie. Gave it a shot, and I don't even know how I'd fix it. I haven't seen it in 7 years.
Yeah. Whenever it came out.
So I don't know how much of it I remember. John Carter was one of the first movies that Bailey and I watched together.
Really?
Yeah. She's a big fan of Taylor Kitsch from Friday Night Lights. And so we had a movie night where we watched John Carter for her, and we watched Black Swan for me.
Okay.
I don't know that she liked either one of them.
Is Natalie Portman your Taylor Kitsch?
No, I really like Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, okay.
So I was really excited about Black Swan, and it was kind of the big movie at the time that I would want to show someone. Like, I feel like if Bailey and I started dating now, it wouldn't be the movie that I was like, hey, this is the movie that we're gonna watch first.
Do you know what movie it would be now?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Something like Birdman.
Birdman is really good. Maybe I'm kind of torn between two. So it's either Whiplash, because I personally consider that a near perfect film.
It's not a film that I'm not going to say I enjoyed it, but it was very, very compelling.
See, I do a book club with a couple of friends of mine, and it seems like each book we get is miserable.
Okay.
Like, it's a fun experience. We appreciate the fact that we read the book because it was well written, but we did not enjoy reading it.
Yeah.
Like, it is heartbreaking. And I feel like I think that's why I love that movie though. what it does for me that movies just don't seem to do is that it has this building tension through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And most movies kind of peak and then just fade out, and there's no resolution. And Whiplash, like, that comes to like punches at the end. Like, there's real release of that tension at the end of the movie that you just don't really get.
Yeah.
In other movies, like, I don't know if they just can't kind of commit to it, or
I mean, that seems likely.
But it really, I don't, rewatching the movie, I don't know that there are any scenes in there that don't actively add anything either to plot or character development. Like, there's no throwaway scenes. There are scenes that you could take away and still get the general story, but like, it adds nuances to the character. Like, the whole romantic subplot is there to show like how driven he is, and how like he doesn't have time for like weak things like emotion, or like another person that he has to take care of or like care about, because he can't physically care about anything else.
Like, he doesn't have emotional space in his life for
right.
Like,
he is so honed in on his one singular task that he can't. He doesn't have the capacity for anything else. And it really, if he doesn't have that, then it doesn't have like the rising tension that it does, and it doesn't pay off.
Yeah.
Like, when he like gets in the car crash and then like powers through, you're just like, how is this happening?
What is this?
This is still going, and like, that's not even like the craziest part. So that might be the one. I think that's like a near perfect film, just for that reason. But then I really like the movie Timer. It's a pretty indie movie about what happens if you could get a countdown clock that would tell you when you were going to meet your soulmate.
Okay.
Which is interesting because I don't believe in soulmates, but I love this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is my favorite movie. It's just so well acted, and I think the story and kind of the message is really good. There's a character in it who I feel like I would be in a world where that existed. Because his stance is kind of like, I know because this is here, I know that soulmates exist.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should know about it or be able to act on it, because it changes things.
Right.
So it's a really, like, I mean, not like low budget, but it's pretty indie. There's not really any big names in it, but it could be of when I saw it the first time, it had more of an impact. But I just really love that movie, which I think there was probably a few, movie nights in that I made Bailey watch that one. I think she liked that one better than Black Swan for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had to pick a movie to like represent, is your taste in movies or like something that was important to you?
So the movie, I don't know that I really make people watch movies with me. I think, like, obviously people's taste in movies is really important. As far as I'm concerned. So like the old standards is like, do they like Star Wars? Do they like Lord of the Rings? Can they appreciate movies like The Patriot, Gladiator? I don't
know if I've seen either of those.
You haven't seen those?
I don't think so.
We should definitely watch. Should definitely watch Patriot. Should probably watch Gladiator. Yeah, those are some really solid movies. One movie that I love and is, we were talking about getting really emotional during movies. The only movie I can think of prior to like in the past few years, it's been like a little bit easier in TV shows, and like the last episode of season 1 of Critical Role really got me. And
I mean that you're investing like 1,000 hours into these people, so that makes sense.
Something like that. And then like the final like couple episode arc of Sons of Anarchy, like really hit me emotionally. And interestingly enough, it's another thing about fathers and sons, which is kind of ironic because my non-existent wife, isn't pregnant. We're assuming. But the movie that really means something to me is Warrior.
Okay.
Tom Hardy, Joel Edgerton, Jennifer Goodwin, I think, is in it from Once Upon a Time.
Okay.
Not Snow White, but because there are two Jennifers that are in that show.
She plays Jennifer. I don't know if she I heard her pronounce it both ways before.
Yeah,
I think it's like spelled with a G, right?
Right. Yeah. I think it's the blonde. I don't remember which one that is.
Okay.
Anyway, so she's in it. Frank Grillo is in it. And it's just this movie about these two brothers who are estranged because like the father was an alcoholic, and like he and the mom split up, and then the mom died of like cancer, and like one of the boys went with him, and like the boy that was the father's favorite left.
Okay.
And the boy that wasn't the father's favorite stayed because he felt like he had an opportunity to like be the father's favorite.
Oh, okay.
And it's just this whole thing about them both like being fighters, like UFC kind of deal.
Yeah.
And
I was like mentally piecing together Tom Hardy and the title, and like trying to match up the poster in my brain so I could make the full connection.
Yeah.
I thought that's the one, but okay.
Yeah. So the ending of that movie, like, and all throughout, like, it's not I wouldn't call it a masterpiece, but it's something that resonates. The ending for sure resonates with me, personally. For the longest time, my favorite movie was Final Fantasy Advent Children.
Okay.
Just because, like, I had a deep appreciation for like the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it in years. So I can't imagine it holds up that well. Especially being like a CG animated movie from 2004 or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's one of those movies where like the only way you're going to watch that movie is if you're going to love that movie.
Yeah.
Like no one just casually walks in to watch Advent Children. Like you have to seek that movie out.
Yeah.
And in which case you're probably at least going to enjoy it.
Right. And I ended up watching Kingsglaive, the Final Fantasy 15 movie.
Okay.
And there are some aspects of it that were kind of cool, but like on the whole, it was super disappointing.
I feel like that was the general reaction to the other one, the one that was titled Final Fantasy but wasn't Final Fantasy. What was that one?
Spirits Within? Yeah.
But so many people hated that movie because it wasn't like at all connected to anything Final Fantasy.
Okay.
I think it gets a lot of flack, and then I watched it when it came out, and I was 11, and so it was. I remember at the time thinking that the voices didn't match up with the people, which on rewatching, I don't think it's as bad. I don't know why I felt that so strongly.
Yeah.
When I watched it the first time, like this person would not sound like that.
Yeah.
And now I don't. Maybe it's because there's more framework for animated films like that and what people sound like who look like different things.
Yeah, your perceptions kind of shifted a little.
So maybe it was just ahead of its time in that kind of way. But I also think it holds up a lot better than. It's a weird story about like ghosts and trying to preserve life in like a dying world and some like unnecessarily heavy stuff.
Okay.
But I think it doesn't quite deserve grief that it gets. Uh, but I haven't seen the other Final Fantasy ones, so I don't know how it compares.
Yeah, not really sure. I think Seven or Advent Children and Kingsglaive were the only ones I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are at least 2 others.
Yeah, there was a stretch where they were pumping them out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they have enough Final Fantasy games.
It's true, yeah. Yeah, it was just the thing in front of whatever movie we just saw in the theaters, Far From Home.
Mm-hmm.
They had a trailer for whatever the current Final Fantasy game coming out is.
I think there was an expansion called Shadowbringer.
I think that was it, yeah.
Wasn't it? It was like a Tom Holland and Hannibal Buress. Have you seen that commercial?
I don't think so.
Where like Tom Holland is like getting super jazzed up and like working out super hard, and he's like, "No, I need to like get into shape so I can be the guy." And Hannibal Buress is like, "What are you doing? Like this isn't necessary. You can just play the game."
Play the game. But it's weird because I mentioned, I was like, it's so weird that you get like the first 3 or 4 Final Fantasy games, and it's like Tolkien era, like weaponry,
swords and sorcery.
That is the setting, like dungeon warrior stuff, and then like the newest one is like 4 dudes pushing a car for like 4 miles,
and like
it's
camping.
just so different,
yeah.
And it's all, I don't know if they're all connected at all because I haven't really played many of them, but it's so weird that like one series can be so thematically different, while still being the same,
and like all different kinds of genres.
Yeah,
like regular RPG, like turn-based RPG, and like semi-turn-based RPG, and like almost not turn-based, like and not like an action RPG, and also like an MMO. Yeah,
and they really just go for it.
Yeah. I mean, more power to them that they can sustain some sort of, I don't know, like franchise cohesion.
I wonder how much of that is just simply based on the fact that there's Final Fantasy. Yeah. But like the fact that it's called Final Fantasy because they thought that was the last game they were ever going to make. Yeah. And it was going to be their Final Fantasy is just insane. Yeah. And now they're like
19.
I think, of core ones, right?
Well, because they had at least 2 13s.
Yeah.
14 is the MMO. I think they had a couple of 12s as well.
15 now?
They're on 15 now.
Yeah, and then there's like Tactics and Tactics 2 and
Tactics Ogre. Tactics Advance.
Yeah, there's all kinds of them that just. I think they have a mobile one that's different.
They have like Chocobo stuff.
Yeah, they had Chocobo Racing Game. They have a Chocobo Puzzle. They have one that's like a fun party dungeon crawler with Chocobo now. Like everyone's a Chocobo. It's so weird.
It's so bizarre.
I mean, it's great that they're able to do it, but I mean, I guess you look at like Mario. Yeah, and Mario's got like literally every type of game you could think of.
They're just like reinventing the wheel every time.
Yeah, like you could just take a game and swap out characters with Mario, and it probably exists like an officially licensed Mario game.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was kind of the idea is like, we have an idea for a game. We have a really good idea for a game. Let's make it a Mario game.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's actually a major design philosophy that they've been operating on. And obviously they want to kind of tie into Mario games that have come before, but I think overall their whole plan is like, we don't set out to make a Mario game. Like we come up with an idea for a game, and then we'll like slot it into like
it's all based on mechanics and not story,
right?
Because even the story ones aren't like really story. The story's there, but it's like none of the levels or anything have anything to do with that story,
right?
Like the story could be anything.
I think Super Mario Sunshine is probably the closest you get to like a proper story game.
And even that, I feel like that's mostly just based on the mechanics.
Or
what they wanted out of it.
Maybe Paper Mario? But even that, it's kind of like...
Yeah, I mean, Paper Mario being like a legit RPG is probably the closest, because it really is about the story. I forgot that those existed.
Yeah, I think I played the first one on the GameCube. I don't know that I ever finished it.
The 1,000-Year Door?
Yeah.
It was good. I mean, it's kind of JRPG style where it goes on forever.
Yeah.
And there's so much to it.
So much to do.
That if you complete that game, it's kind of a feat in and of itself.
I find that I have a hard time playing games that don't have achievements.
Okay.
At this point, which is really strange. Never used to be a thing. I was always content with, oh no, like I beat the game, I have everything in it, and I have the save file, and that's good enough for me. But like Xbox achievements and trophies and Steam achievements, really kind of spoiled me in that regard.
I think so I love the Tales of series. Used to play Tales of Destiny on the PlayStation, which was like the second or third one that they ever did.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that game. I'm pretty sure I got like 8% into that because those games are huge.
Yeah.
And now I don't have a PlayStation or that game. And ROMs are so unreliable. I don't know. It feels weird to play it on one. Like it's like 20 years old. So I don't, like obviously it's illegal.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's in that range where like I shouldn't be concerned about it.
Right.
Like if no one is losing money at all by me playing this game.
Like if you can't pay the company to get it,
right,
it's not really a big deal anymore.
Yeah. If I'm not able to acquire this through legal means, I should be able to acquire it through legal means on the internet.
I mean, your only other option in that regard would be to buy like a Vita or a PS3 and like play it as a PS1 classic.
Yeah,
if they even have it.
It's not. See, I've looked at that.
Is it really?
I look at that like regularly to see if it's an option, and it's not. Because I would definitely, I'd pay $25 to get an officially licensed, PS1 classic on the PS3 for that, and it's just not available. But I remember playing Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube, putting like 80, 90 hours into that game, beating it, and then the save file telling you that you're only like 62% of the way through the things like you can find and do.
Okay.
And just being so in the moment heartbroken. Like, how is this?
I was done.
How is this possible? Like, you get to a point in that game where it literally feels like it's the final boss. And then you find out that you are on one of two mirrored Earths that like exist in different like subspaces.
Yeah.
And then you transfer to the other one, and there's another like 40% of the story, and you're like, what happened? I thought we were so close. But yeah, and so like I attempted to go back through and try and find everything, and I don't want to rely on a guide to find everything. I've done it before. Like Metroid Prime, I wanted to 100% that game so you could see like the alternate ending where she takes her helmet off just to, say that I did it.
Yeah.
And so, like, sit there with a checklist, like, go to this zone, find this power up, do this zone. But I don't know, a game that big, it feels too much like a task.
Yeah.
And less like playing the game. But I really want that like 100%. Because at this point, like, if I do it again, it has to be 100. If I got 98, I'd be so mad at myself.
Yep.
Like, if I miss one thing. So you really have to commit to
like, really finding every single thing that you can possibly get.
And so I both like that, because there's so much stuff. But I also hate it so much. Because it hurts me personally.
Yeah. That's what I like about games like Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
Where it's like, well, the older Assassin's Creeds. I never finished Odyssey. Well, I never finished Unity. I never finished Odyssey. Origins.
Okay.
And I never played Odyssey.
I played about an hour total.
Yeah.
of any of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, one of the things I like about it is like everything. Like once you explore the map, you can buy like maps of the locations of everything that you're looking for,
and then go through and find everything.
And then go through and find everything.
I played games where that's an option before, and it's really nice.
Which is like, if I'm gonna go find like looking for something, like yeah, you can make it a challenge to get it.
Yeah.
But like, I just want to know where it is.
Yeah, I think like the Arkham games are like that.
Yeah.
Or like if you find the map, Riddler trophy for an area, it shows you where everything else is.
Yeah. And then, or if you're in detective mode and you're like, oh, there's a Riddler trophy, it like pops up.
You just have to find out how to get there.
Yeah.
Oh nice. Man.
Oh God. So I was playing Arkham City, right? Yeah. And I got 99% of the Riddler trophies, except for like, I think it was because there were a lot of them in that game. There weren't as many. I forget if there were more or less in City, but there were a lot. There were like 400 something.
I want to say there were like 180 in
Asylum.
Yeah. I think there were more in City than in Night, but Night had more tasks to do.
Okay. So, well, from what I remember, there were like 400 Riddler trophies, not including like the Catwoman missions. But like there were 400, and I got all of them except for like 2.
Yeah.
And they were in story missions that I'd already completed, and you can't replay story missions in that game. And I was so pissed.
Yeah, they do. I feel like they do a pretty good job of making those ones pretty accessible. So that you don't miss them.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously they can't be perfect. I played a game called Remember Me. Did you play that?
I played part of it, yeah.
I played that through 3 times in one weekend because I wanted to get the platinum 100% trophy on that. And that was such a miserable weekend because you can't skip cutscenes.
Oh.
And it's not a game where there's a lot of options. It's very much like walk down this carefully curated path to do these things. But part of it deals with choice. And so you like go into people's memories and you get to like change something to see what would have happened, to like discover, I don't know, secrets about your life or something. And so literally the only way to platinum it is to do it multiple times, because you have to like choose A over B, and then there's another trophy where you have to choose B over A, and then like the last option, there's like 3 options. So I played it through 3 times, and the last time was literally to do one stupid task right at the end of the game. And I was just so committed. Like, that's all I did that weekend. I don't know if I left the apartment.
Yeah.
Like, I just sat down and angrily played that game 3 times over the weekend, and then gave it to a friend because I was like, I'm never touching this again. I don't want to look at it. I have the trophy. That's all I need. Because there's no reason to play it again.
Yeah.
At all.
I felt that way a little bit. I mean, I feel that way, once I've gotten as much as I'm going to get out of a game. But I had a kind of similar experience playing Detroit.
Okay.
Because like it's all like choice related.
Yeah.
And the problem is like if you go back and replay scenes, it'll tell you like, do you want to continue from here and like have this be like your canon thing? And so you have to play through like major portions to get to choice that you need to get the the trophy
to, like, branch out.
Yeah. So like if okay, in order to get this result, the choice has to be made, like a specific choice has to be made like back here so that I can, have the options to branch out and get to the end. And I don't have the platinum in that game because I don't have the patience to like go back through and like make all the correct choices and like get everything.
I remember when Heavy Rain came out, which was their first game, I think.
I think so.
They did that, and then Beyond Two Souls, and then Detroit.
Yes. That's not good.
But Heavy Rain came out, and I was living with Vegan Steve at the time, and him and my other roommate played that game just nonstop. Like they would trade off because they had like alternate work schedules, and they were just trying to get every possible option in that. And it went on for like 2 or 3 weeks where they were like writing notes down. They had like printouts of like, this is what you have to do this and this. Because we didn't have like regularly accessible wireless at the time.
Yeah.
So they had to like print out the guides, and they would just take over for one another just to get. And I was like, how are you getting, like, I can't. I've watched snippets, and I know I don't want to play this. Like, how are you guys doing this? This has to be a miserable existence. And they were just fully engrossed for like 2 weeks.
I mean, it makes you happy.
Yeah, power to them. But yeah, I have Detroit now because it was one of the free ones.
Yeah.
And part of me wants to play it because I heard good things about it.
Yeah.
But part of me just remembers that Heavy Rain experience and doesn't want to touch it at all.
I feel like it's a lot longer than Until Dawn.
Okay.
But I feel like playing it with a group, not as big a group because there are only 3 main characters.
Yeah.
But it might be worth playing, like doing a series of nights where it's like, okay, we're going to play for X number of hours.
Right.
And however far we get is where we're going to stop. And then we're going to pick it up at a certain time. And like everybody picks a character that they're going to play. And see where they go. The issue with that though is like when you don't have that many characters, they can still die.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, well, I guess it's just the 2 of us.
Yeah, I never played through Until Dawn either.
No.
It was I was supposed to play through it with Bailey's siblings and some friends.
Actually, I went to he had one here, and we played through, and I'd played through multiple times and gotten like trophies and such, like similar experience to trying to get. Yeah. Anyway, so I was playing one of the characters and like remembered enough that I could make it, like made all the right choices, like made it all the way to the end, and then Sam blew up the house.
Oh man.
With me still inside. I'm like, son of a God.
Yeah, you're so affected.
Like, and there were 3 characters still alive. Myself, Sam's character, and I don't remember who the other character was, but there were 3 people still alive, and he killed the other 2 people to get out himself.
Oh man. Yeah, that's I guess that's the thing that can happen.
Yeah, but I mean, as a group game, highly recommended.
Yeah, I think that was the second time that Evan has done that. They did one back when he was still living with his parents.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to make it to that one, and then subsequently unable to make it to this one, which is a bummer because I tried to play it on my own because that was another like free game, and I just like I can see clearly why it would be fun as a group, but I don't know, something about it. I don't think it's the pacing because like I like slow movies and stuff like that. But
it's just less fun to do by yourself.
Yeah, although I feel that way with horror movies in general, where they kind of bore me by myself. But if I'm watching with other people, something about being in the room, like comedies are funny when you're in a group.
Yeah.
So I think like because it was that style game and it was a horror game, it just compounded it on itself and made it so I didn't really care enough to continue on my own.
Yeah.
I've wanted to do a night, but it just hasn't come up.
Yeah, might be fun to do with our D&D group.
Yeah,
like that crew of people.
They have a new one coming out. The
Man of Medan?
Yeah.
Part of like a Dark Pictures.
It's been getting all kinds of high praise.
I don't think I know anything about it. Like I feel like I've watched a trailer
something
or
about
something.
a boat. I don't know. Feels like it has something to do with the ocean or sea or something.
Could be.
I could be completely wrong. I don't know.
I mean, as long as it's the same like style of gameplay, I feel
Yeah,
like it would be
they're
a good
really
time.
building it with the idea of playing it in the party in mind. Because I think with Until Dawn, that wasn't their thought process going into it.
Interesting.
The thought process was just like, let's tell this big interwoven story.
Like all these characters,
just a bunch of characters. All of the decisions affect other people in different ways, and then people were like, "Hey, let's get 7 friends together, and each one will be a person."
Yeah,
and it like wasn't just a small thing. Like that's what people did to play that game.
Yeah, it was like the preferred way of playing the game.
And so they took notice and were like, let's just build this from the ground up with that in mind. So that's what I've heard about it, is that it's really good in that aspect specifically.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's really fun. I mean, that's like kind of like why the Jackbox games are so fun. Because you're all... It feels weirdly more interactive than like a board game.
Yeah.
Because, like, obviously, if you're all playing, a board game, whether it's Monopoly or, Betrayal, then you're, crafting the story to play, but it feels somehow less interactive. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me personally.
I mean, it could also be the connection that we have with our phones. Could be. Is that kind of...
It could be. Maybe it's like you're able to do stuff more in secret. And so you're less... Like if you're, going to betray a friend, you can do it.
Yeah.
And they don't know until it's too late.
Yeah.
Where in Betrayal, if you're going to betray a friend, like they know what's coming.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to not do that.
It's hard to keep that under wraps. Now, have you played with Jeffrey when he has been doing Betrayal Legacy at all?
I haven't.
No.
I kind of want to go through it, like the whole thing.
The whole thing.
And so I wasn't able to do the first night, and they started.
Yeah.
And then I'm just less interested in joining partway through.
That's fair.
I would love to do the whole thing, but because love legacy games.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite so far of the ones we've played?
I think maybe Pandemic. Although Risk is a close second.
Yeah.
It's weird because like they're all made by the same guy, who just somehow understands how to turn another game into a legacy game.
Yeah.
And so I think Risk was pretty cool because it's mostly just Risk, and then what you do is you pick. There's like a draft order, and so you get to pick either your starting country, your starting wealth, your starting armies, or your army type.
Yeah.
And so like, and the starting order, like your turn order. So there's like 5 or 6 things that you pick from, and you obviously only get to pick one from each category.
Yeah.
But you really have to decide like what's more important to you, because it just goes in like a draft type thing.
Yeah.
So like if Evan really wants to have the biggest army starting out of the gate, like that's what he's going to try and get. But maybe I want better positioning, so I'm going to do that. And then as the armies, like each game, you're improving the standing armies with different perks and stuff. And then it was funny, we were playing, it was me, Dan, Evan, Bella, and Jeff Cole. And we played like 6 or 7 games. Dan wins most of them because Dan is just the strategic, crazy man that he is.
Yeah. And also like an incredibly lucky bastard.
Yeah. Just so weirdly lucky sometimes. So he had won like 4 or 5 out of the 7 games, expectedly. And then Jeff couldn't come to one. So we had David fill in. And nothing had really happened up until that point. Like you build like standing cities where like if you have this city you get some sort of buff in the game.
Yeah.
So it was minor stuff like that. Nothing had really happened. We were really trying to actively open up packs because it's like if you do this, you're going to open up a pack.
Yeah.
And so they were all pretty feasible. We, for some reason, the game that Jeff was gone, which we all feel bad about because he missed it. We just really went hard on opening packs. We were like, we don't care about like the game at large. Mm-hmm. We're going to open up these up. So we nuked South America.
Okay.
Like somewhere around Panama.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where, but like completely separated off North and South America with a nuke. Introduced zombies to that area due to radiation.
Sure.
So unless you're the zombies, it like costs troops to transport through that unit.
Yeah.
But you can start as the zombie army if you want. And then also, because we took over enough cities, aliens like discovered that we were a viable planet.
Okay.
And they invade, and like you find out there's an alien like island just chilling off the coast. So we just introduced all of these crazy game-changing things. Kind of broke the map a little bit. Because when you put down the alien island, it's like, oh, just draw a line and connect 2 different countries. And without even thinking, we were like, well, it doesn't say you can't connect off the board. Because obviously you can connect like, Russia to North America.
Yeah.
Which is just a standard connection. We're like, well, if we can do that, let's also go, top to bottom. So we connected from like Australia, who was just, the defense peak. There's now a backdoor to Australia from Russia, which geographically does not work.
No, it doesn't.
And we like took the time to lay down the sticker for the island and like the connecting lines. And then as we were cleaning up, we were looking at the board and we were like, this does not make any sense. This is not physically feasible.
Yeah.
And we're just sticking with it. And then oddly enough, we had not played a game since then because we were waiting for Jeff to get back. And then, everybody's lives get crazy. And that was
took over
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're, 7 or 8 games into the 15 game campaign. We bring it up like every 2 months, like, hey, we should really play.
Should bust out that Risk Legacy.
It's just the box is really nice. It's just chilling on the shelf, untouched.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's really fun. I mean, Pandemic's good because it's working together.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Bailey
hates games where you have to work together. She like refuses to play Pandemic.
I like cooperative video games. I'm not as big a fan of cooperative board games because I feel like it becomes it's less about, oh, I'm going to do this thing to help this person. It's, okay, I have to do the thing that the group decides I need to do.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's like 1, maybe 2 people out of a 4 or 5 person group.
Yeah.
Who's like saying, no, we need to do this thing because it's the only thing that makes sense.
It's really hard to not be that person too.
Yeah.
Which I know when we were playing Pandemic, I would have to like check myself a few times. Where I was like, no, it's not. Like, it's not my person.
It's not
they can do anything they want.
They can pick whichever character they want to play.
We are playing a cooperative game. Yes, we're trying to beat the game, but also I'm playing with other real people.
Yeah. Which is less the case for Seafall.
Mm-hmm.
Seafall, what was it about that game that just like did not function in terms of like a
I don't know. I mean, I still enjoy it,
Yeah.
but there's like, I feel like I have the closest shot of beating Dan, and I'm still so far away. Like every time, but that just also feeds into Dan's like crazy luck. Like every time I was like, oh yeah, one turn, I'll be able to win this.
Yep.
Dan would get like 12 points somehow. Just he'd pick the right number out of like 100 and just, all right, game's done. I still lost. Like I don't
Like,
understand.
Not only did I lose, I lost in last place.
Yeah. Like it'd be fine if it was losing based purely on strategic prowess, but
like
I'm adding that luck in.
I'm not a strategist, and so like bad. It's just like.
And then you had kind of a similar thing where like you were set up a lot of games. So like 2 turns out, you would have all the points.
2 turns out, I would just clean up,
and we just didn't get that far.
Yeah, it ended
just shut down by Dan's stupid luck.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where it's like I always felt like, you know, I was trying to play the long game because I didn't want to bother with like exploring and attacking other people. Like I just wanted to be a trading like province, and like I just wanted to buy stuff and sell stuff and build stuff, and like I was just getting on a roll like every time, just managing to get the momentum going, and then it's just like, all right, that game's over.
Yeah. I mean, we did talk about adding like a kind of a longevity to it, but I feel like you'd have to really change the rules. It's like you were playing Catan, and everyone else was playing Risk.
Yeah, like, something like that.
Your units are so happy, they're well fed, their houses are beautiful, and then just Australia comes in and murders everyone for no reason. And you're like, well, it's been fun.
And then friggin' Lauren, like what was it, like 5 games in, Lauren like sinks one of my ships within reach of like everybody else on the board. So like if you're in your home port, you're gonna get attacked by a ghost ship.
Yeah, that was kind of it's weird to have to like play with that in mind. Like the added wrinkle of the board is going to try and murder me if I'm anywhere near safety. Like if I'm not being a courageous, crazy person, I will die. Yeah, it's a weird balance. I definitely want to finish it, even just for the story of. But I feel like that's one where they did a pretty good job of like the story kind of driving you to do stuff.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, this is a thing? Now we gotta do this. Like we have to figure out what this means. But I don't know, it comes down to time.
Yeah. You don't have that much left.
Yeah, I'm running out of the free chunks. Yeah, I'm not going to be like a ghost, but large chunks of, long stretch sit down to play board games or D&D time is not going to be possible.
Yeah, going to be pretty hard to come by.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say that Bailey's not going to let me, like, do stuff, but I'm also going to just need to not do that.
Yeah.
Be an active participant.
You kind of got to be present.
The raising of a child and making sure the house doesn't fall apart. So,
yeah.
Which is kind of great that we live in a time where if I'm like, hey, I have 20 minutes, I can just text everyone. Everyone can jump on, play like a match of Overwatch, and be like, well, thanks guys, gotta go.
It's been real.
Yeah. So that's kind of nice that is a possibility.
Right.
I can still be home, making sure that the baby isn't dying.
Yep.
But also interacting with everyone.
Keeping in touch.
So that'll be nice. I don't know. Our friends keep telling us to, hold off on a few, Netflix shows that we want to watch. Because we're going to have a lot of time where, like, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
But we're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like just kind of stuck. And they're like, you're going to watch a lot of Netflix, so save some shows. Because despite how you think you might want to watch, like The Office or New Girl for the 5th time, you're going to be able to watch something new.
Yeah.
So, trying to do that a little bit.
Well, I mean, that seems like a pretty good way to end it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, it was nice. I realized that I hadn't really had a long. I think this is probably the longest that you and I have kind of one-on-one conversed.
Yeah.
We don't really have a lot of just hanging out, you and I.
No.
But
I think it's mostly group get-togethers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the few times that we are, like, it is just the two of us, it's like 15, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah,
until
it's either like the
else gets there.
precursor to everyone getting there, or I just haven't left yet.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, so no, it's been nice. Because I feel like I get along with you really well, and I just haven't done anything with it.
we don't make the opportunities to just chat.
Yeah, we're both pretty passive people, I think.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Pretty laid back.
Yeah,
I mean,
so this was good.
I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've made sort of a quasi deal with Dave as well. To have him back on once he's 6 months into raising his child. Just to get like a status.
See what shakes out.
Yeah. So I'll be interested to once you get to that point and you feel. I'll put it this way: when you feel like you're ready to come back on, just let me know and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, maybe we'll. I realized a little too late in the podcast that we were having some very inside baseball conversations where if you don't know what we were talking about, we made no efforts to explain it. So maybe we'll do a little less of that next time.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Thanks everybody for listening, and have a good night. Thanks again for listening to the Muddling Through podcast. You can find the podcast on social media, and send us feedback, write a review on iTunes and such. We're also on YouTube, so if you'd rather partake there, please feel free. All right, have a good night.